Let's try this out. See, man. Okay, we are live. So let's get into it. So this one's already been set up. It's going to be a pretty quick one. I just wanted to talk about a problem that came up this week, and I wanted to provide one option of a few that were provided for the problem presented. Basically, it's not this problem, but the problem can be summarized as don't let a particular quality go above a certain amount in a given time. So in this example, I'm going to be mimicking that by basically saying, don't let the ash in my model that I dig at any point, so over the an accumulation of my ash, ever go above 9%. So I'll talk about a couple of variations of this, but basically what we're going to start with is a system where the moment that I start digging coal, I need to make sure that it's less than 9%, and anything that I dig subsequent to that can't let the ash go above that 9% target. So it's already been set up in this model. So I'm just going to talk about how it's been set up so that you can appreciate what goes into that. And if you have any questions about some expanded ideas about how this can work, please let me know. So basically, the first thing I've started out with, and this one's currently at a different number other than 9, so let's set it at 9 for the moment. And I'm going to turn it off and just show you very, very briefly. We'll create a new pivot table to explain this one. Very, very briefly, what's happening at the moment with my coal ash. Which is that, look, in this demo model, it's approximately 10% across the board, and it's just a basic schedule, and it's hitting about 10.29%. I don't want it to ever be that high, so what I've turned on, now you could, there's a couple of different ways to manage this, but this is an automated way. It has some limitations, which I'm happy to talk about if you want to contact us about it, but basically, the major limitation is it doesn't allow you to kind of buffer yourself out in front. So if you're happy to collect a little bit of that material, knowing that you're going to come back to the target that you have, this is not what this is for. This is basically, it's a more long-term guideline. It's just basically to stop yourself from climbing too high on a particular quality. So the setup looks a little bit like this. Firstly, we have a global constant for target ash. This just makes the writing of everything a little bit easier and makes it easy to keep the number that controls this in one single place as opposed to having to edit it multiple times. So I've created a global constant called target ash. It's currently 9%, 0.09. The way this is designed is it's designed to work with numbers like that are 1-based percentage, so from 0 to 1, 1 meaning 100%. If you're dealing in 100-based percentages, you need to, all the numbers in this scenario would have to be divided by 100 for this to work the way that I'm expecting it to work, because it's based on basically a ratio or a percentage difference. So we've got an inventory constraint in here, and we'll rename it to be a little bit more correct. So stay above target ash. So firstly, it's a manually specified inventory constraint. This just means it's not linked to a calendar. It doesn't change based on a date. I've got a single instance where basically this container gets opened, and I don't reset what's in that container. If you need to know more about inventory constraints, check the documentation. But basically, we're starting with an initial value of 999,999. We're starting with a quantity of 999,999. So basically what that's saying is right now, at the start, we won't be able to add to this inventory constraint. Anything that adds to this inventory constraint will basically be constrained. And the things that are adding to that constraint are the things that are underneath the target ash. And what that looks like, the range that it's the inverse of, is this one. So there's a range here, asterisk in the text filter. Checking the imported quality ash in this example, you'd probably be using ROM ash, product ash potentially. And then we've got this global constants target ash. So if I'm less than or equal to that target, that I'm inside or underneath the target ash. That's the inverse is what adds to that. you can have these the other way around. It doesn't really matter as long as you're constrained when you start. So in this example here, if I try to dig something at 9.3% ash, I won't be able to. But if I want to dig something at 8.7, I will be able to because it's underneath the target ash. And then the value that gets contributed here, it looks a little bit more complicated than it is. Basically, what it is, if you take away this abs, which is basically just a way so that I can have the formulas be identical, it basically says my ash is 10%, I subtract 9%, the percentage is 1%. The percentage is not meaningful, except that if I were to go to 11% on the ash, the difference would be 2%. That's basically twice as much of an impact because it's twice as much of a distance from my target ash. So if I dig 1,000 tons at 10% ash, that has the same impact as digging 500 tons at 11% ash in terms of the quality impact. So it's twice as far away from the target ash, which means I can only contribute half as much, basically to keep the qualities in line. So it's basically the further away you are from the target ash, the more you contribute. So to go at it one more time, and I might bring up in an Excel just really briefly. If my Excel will load, there we go. So if I have 1,000 tons at 0.08%, and might help if my scroll lock was off, and I have 1,000 tons at 0.1%, then some of this it's too late in the day for me to do weight averaging in Excel. Yeah, I'm having a moment. Anyway, more the point is if you have that layout there, then it's pretty easy to note this is 9%. I'm demonstrating my really bad Excel skills at the moment. Same deal. I end up with 9% ash if that's my maths. And I look forward to somebody correcting me, but I'm not going to do the video again. That will also leave you with a 9% ash. So basically, the calculation that we're doing here is making sure that the farther away we are from the target ash, the more we contribute either removing or adding to this particular target. Okay. So even if this is not perfectly clear, hopefully it's clear in its application in a moment. So what we're going to do is run this now with it turned on at 9% and have a look and see what happens. So basically what we end up with is 8.98%, 9.01%. Now bear in mind that if we combine those two together, we've still come in basically bang on 9%, which is acceptable. And I've got this reporting period outside of this range called after constraint. So basically I turn the constraint off so you can see what happens after the constraint finishes. So the constraint basically only applies until 2022. After that there's no capacity, which means it doesn't do anything. So you can start to toy around and see the impact. Sorry. One moment, just drink some water. If you toy around with that global constant. So if I target 9.5%, I will get more months out of my schedule before I get stuck. Basically, at this point, what's happening is, if we were to look at this, let's grab, actually this pivot table will do the job. We'll move the month start date out of there, and then we'll sort by the ash. So basically, actually we might sort by month first. It's probably not the cleverest thing to do. Actually, I want to sort it by start date. That's what I wanted. It's just sorting the other way around that I want it to. But for the life of me, I can't get it to sort from top to bottom without doing it via the grand total column. Just misunderstanding on my part. Okay, so best fit, that's what I want. So basically what you can see is I'm allowed to contribute at the start a very, very small amount above 9%. That's actually because I've set my, that's because I've set my maximum now at 9.5%. So I can go 9.5% or anything just under 9.5% to start with. And then as soon as I've contributed, you can see I've just added this little contribution column so you can easily see kind of what the contribution of a different value is. I might have made a mistake in that contribution. I have. This should have a maths absolute around it. Actually, the issue is that there's no aggregation. Let's try that again. All right. So you can see here that I can contribute an amount back towards, but as soon as I've sort of hit that target, I've forced to go back under the 9.5% again. So I get stuck about here. And the reason will be is that basically at this point here in March, there won't be a single record in this list that's not underneath my target. So I'm stuck. There's no more options for me. This might be, this is where the system becomes potentially impractical, or it's just demonstrating its limitations. It doesn't allow you to turn it off when it's sort of run out of options. But you can start to toy around with that percentage. You can add additional global constants for that. But basically, you can also then turn it off at the date that you're kind of happy and you're like, look, at that point, I understand. I'm no longer able to do that. So you can just switch it off. But anyway, look, a little bit janky towards my explanations. Apologies. If you want a better explanation, please let me know. I'll get this turned into a more accurate description and documentation. But it can be a handy tool for, you know, making sure that you don't go over something that you want to go over, or making sure you stay above something that you want to stay over. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, thank you for your attention, and probably that will be it for the year for these. I know I've been a little bit slack with producing them. If you have any ideas or any questions about what I can do in another one, please let me know. Have a great weekend. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and see you soon. It's going to bother me that I got this wrong, so I'm jumping back in to add to the video. Look, basically the trick here with this spreadsheet that I was missing before is what you want to do is basically the value here is the sum of these things. It's that divided by their sum multiplied by that plus basically the same thing all over again, but with B3, B2 and C2. So take that, copy it, paste it there, copy it, paste it there, assuming that that comes along for the ride. And then what you can do, excuse me, is you toy around with that contribution. Why will that not edit now? I have no idea. It's another Excel that's showing up. Yeah, just remembering how to weight average on a Friday afternoon, bit of a challenge. Anyway, that'll do. Merry Christmas. See ya.